Karens often see themselves as high authorities and walk around as if they have the power to do anything they want. Sadly, that is not always the case. In this video, we would be showing you Karens who tried to fight royal guards and how it ended up for them. Just before we proceed, kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now that you have subscribed, let's dive right in. Slap. It is that time of the year when tourists visit the palace in large numbers. Well, as expected, photos are the true evidence for every tourist that comes to Buckingham Palace, and thus these tourists did not waste time in capturing the beautiful moment on their cameras. Since Karens are not banned from taking pictures too, this lady Karen in white cardigan approached to take her pictures. At this point, we can imagine that the royal guard must have thought that the lady was gentle. However, he was not prepared for what happened next. As the royal horse tried to stretch its neck a bit, the Karen landed a slap on its face. This was the point the guard should have told her to leave the place, but we guess he was rather the forgiving type, and thus decided to give her a second chance. However, as most Karens would, this Karen showed that she did not care for the second chance she was given, and thus, she landed another slap across the face of the horse. We guess the guard must be fuming with anger now, but still decided to calm his tempers. Well, it is only natural for humans to run out of patience, and since the guard is a human himself, he lost his temper on the Karen. Truly, the Karen had it coming, and if the guard did not raise his voice the way he just did, perhaps she might have injured the poor horse in the process. Due to the tension that was being generated already, it seemed as if another royal guard saw the whole thing and came to intervene for his colleague. Thus, due to this Karen that overstepped, everyone has been pursued from the picture, taking scene. We guess, if not for the guards stationed around, other people who wants to take pictures would assault the Karen for ruining their chances. 2. Reins. It is a common knowledge that horses are controlled through their reins. Thus, one would expect tourists to always stay away from the reins so that the horses are not led into injuring other tourists. Well, despite this, some tourists, especially Karens, don't care. This Karen must have felt she was on top of the world as she held the horse's rein as if the horse belonged to her. However, the royal guard must have gotten tired already and was looking for the most polite way to discourage the Karen. However, after trying through non-verbal means to discourage the tourist, the royal guard had no choice than to shout loudly, "Get off the ring!" Clearly, we can see that the Karen was shocked at the high voice. She must have felt she was in her country home, attending to the poor horse, but the loud voice of the guard quickly brought her to reality. Still in shock of what just happened, the poor Karen got herself ready to leave the scene immediately. We can't imagine how she must have felt. We know probably in her home country, she must have gotten away with anything she does, but the royal guard was in no mood for that, and thus, quickly burst her bubble. 3. Shout. Despite that, a Karen was just shouted at few minutes ago. It appears this other Karen still did not care. While it is boldly written on the wall that a horse might bite or attack a tourist, most tourists still don't care. We guess this royal guard must have been tired of constantly shouting, but he just cannot help it if everyone is breaking the rule like this Karen. A perfect pose and picture can be taken without the need to hold the reins of the horse, but some Karens will not just listen. As soon as the royal guard noticed that, he swung into action, and with his loud voice the poor Karen had no option but to run away immediately. We can but imagine the level of embarrassment she must have felt being shouted at in that manner. Sorry, poor Karen, but you brought this upon yourself. We just hope next time you take your pictures without touching the king's horse. 4. Confident Karen. At this point, now might be the best time for the royal guards to add another warning on their walls. The warning should stop tourists from touching the reins of the horse or the horse itself. This is because despite their shouting, it seems most Karens don't bother. Just moments after warning a Karen from touching the reins of the horse, this second Karen came along. Well, just as we expected, she received a shout of her life.
Let go! Right!
Whether the shout will stop her from attempting such stunts in the future again, perhaps we will find out soon enough. Perhaps a noticeable feature of this Karen is that despite being shouted at by the guard, she stood her ground. We can tell that she doesn't want the ticket fares she spent to be in the palace to be a waste, and thus she takes the pictures anyways. Having been corrected, and she heeding to the instruction she was given, the guard left her to take her pictures without any disturbances. 5. Runaway Karen. Maybe these tourists want a law to be passed before they can start obeying the instructions of the palace guards. Despite several warnings not to touch the horse while striking a pose for pictures, this Karen must have thought she was above such rule.
Get off the rein! Get off the rein!
Even the loud voice of the officer was not able to stop her from holding the reins of the horse. However, she was quickly brought back to reality by what the guard did next. The poor Karen ran for her dear life. She must have thought that the guard wanted to run her over, and just before he does that, it was best for her to escape as soon as she could. Just within a second, the Karen disappeared into the crowd, probably never to be seen again. With this experience, we are sure she has been scarred for life and would not be going near a horse anytime in the future. As soon as the guard shouted, a police officer came to know what was wrong. The Karen was very lucky as she had escaped before the police officer came to the scene. If not, perhaps she would be spending some hours in the jail. 6. Biting. With the warning about horses biting tourists, which was clearly displayed on the wall, we thought tourists would not take their hands near the mouth of horses. Unfortunately, that wasn't so. This Karen must have prepared a nice homemade dish, and since she had no one to share it with, she decided to feed the king's horse. Well, at first it all seemed as if everything was going well since the horse was enjoying the tasty meal. The guard must have gotten tired of shouting all day and thus left the Karen to deal with the horse as she pleased, and that was where the big issue came up. It turned out that the horse wanted more than the tasty meal it got. The horse must have thought that the beautiful fingers belonging to the Karen came with the food as it was about to chop it off till the lady started shouting. Truly, luck was on the lady's path, as what would she have done if she had lost a finger or two? Certainly, if she wanted to sue the palace, she would be shown the warning clearly written on the wall. 7. Right on her tracks. It is another exciting day for tourists to take in the beauty which the palace provides. However, unlike other days, this guard seems not to want people to crowd around him and his horse. After the guard passed the instruction for everyone to keep their distance, we can see all the tourists taking different positions away from the guard. We can tell that no one wants to annoy the guard, as the outcome might not be as imagined. Well, out of nowhere, this Karen must have drank some superpowered drink and thought she was invisible. But the loud voice of the guard woke her to reality. The loud voice had one message. Even if you avoid laws in your home country, you cannot try it here in the palace.
Get back!
In order to hide the huge embarrassment she was facing, the Karen attempted covering the whole incident with her weird laughter. Well, no matter how hard she tries, her face doesn't lie, and we can all see she was embarrassed by the shouting she just received. Thus, if she behaved herself more properly in the future, then she might avoid embarrassing situations like this. It seemed as if the Karen could not move after the thunderous shout she just received. She could not believe that the guard will shout at her in that manner, and which caused her to stand at one place. Maybe she is waiting for every other person to go home before she leaves the palace with her tail in between her legs. If that is indeed what she is waiting for, then she might wait for long in the palace. Having seen the Karens and the embarrassments they faced, do you think they deserve the treatment they got? Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Well, if you got to the end of the video, make sure to hit the subscribe button, like, share, and turn on the post notification button so you don't miss any of our videos. Thanks for watching.